Hello, and welcome to History for Sleep. When most people imagine the Vikings, they picture something familiar. Fierce warriors with braided beards standing beneath painted shields. Longships cutting through dark northern seas, swords flashing in the morning light, and distant villages watching anxiously as dragon-headed sails appeared beyond the horizon. It is a world of raids, battles, exploration, and legendary heroes. But those moments of violence were only brief chapters in much longer lives. For most people living in the Viking Age, survival did not begin on a battlefield. It began on a farm. It began with fields that had to be prepared, animals that had to be fed, fences that had to be repaired, grain that had to be stored, and fires that could never be allowed to disappear completely during the coldest months of the year. Tonight, we are leaving behind the famous Viking warriors and their legendary voyages. Instead, we are stepping quietly into the life of an ordinary Viking farmer. You will wake before sunrise on a cold Scandinavian morning. You will feel the frozen air inside a simple wooden farmhouse. You will hear cattle moving in their shelter, sheep shifting through the straw, and the first quiet sounds of a household beginning another day. Together, we will discover what farming actually meant during the Viking Age, how people worked the land with simple tools, how much depended upon healthy animals, what they ate when the fields were covered with snow, how grain, hay, meat, milk, and wool carried families through the difficult months, and why a successful harvest could be more important to an ordinary Viking family than almost anything they might gain through war or adventure. Because the Viking world was not built only by warriors. It was built by farmers, by people who worked before dawn and worked until darkness returned, by families who understood the seasons because their lives depended upon them, by men and women who knew exactly how much grain remained in the storehouse, how much hay the animals would need, and whether the coming winter would be comfortable or dangerously close to hunger. The farm was not simply a place where food was produced. It was a small world of its own. There were animals to care for, tools to maintain, clothing to repair, food to preserve, buildings to protect, children to teach, and endless small tasks that could never be postponed for very long. A broken fence could allow valuable livestock to escape. A damaged roof could let winter snow into the house. A poor harvest could change the fate of an entire family. And so the ordinary Viking farmer lived with a constant awareness of something modern life often allows us to forget. The land gives, the land takes. Everything depends upon the seasons. So tonight, rather than imagining the Viking Age from the deck of a warship, imagine something much quieter. Imagine that you are standing beside a small farmstead somewhere in Scandinavia. It is still dark. Winter has not completely released its grip on the land. Snow lies in the shadows beside the farmhouse, and the ground is hard beneath your feet. The sky above you is deep blue, almost black, with a few pale stars still visible between drifting clouds. There are no streetlights, no distant traffic, no glowing windows stretching across a modern city. Only darkness, frozen fields, distant forests, and the faint sound of animals somewhere nearby. You have been asleep for several hours, but now you are awake. The first thing you notice is the cold. It has slipped beneath the wool blanket during the night and settled quietly against your hands. You do not want to leave the warmth. For another moment, you remain still. Then you hear it, a low sound from the animal shelter, a cow shifting its weight. Another animal answers. Somewhere outside, the wind moves gently across the roof. The household has not fully awakened yet, but the farm is already beginning its day. There is work waiting. The fire needs attention. The animals need feeding. Water must be carried. And beyond the walls, the frozen fields are waiting beneath the darkness. So pull your wool cloak a little tighter around your shoulders. Listen to the quiet breathing of the people sleeping nearby. Feel the warmth that remains beneath your blanket. And when you are ready, slowly rise. Tonight, we are going to discover what it was really like to wake up freezing as a Viking farmer. Not as a king, not as a warrior, not as a legendary explorer, but as an ordinary person whose survival depended upon the earth beneath their feet. And before we step outside into the cold, take a slow breath. Let the sounds of the modern world drift away. Imagine electric lights disappearing. Imagine the hum of machines becoming silent. Imagine the warmth of central heating replaced by the gentle glow of a small fire. The morning is still hours away. The farm is quiet, and somewhere beyond the darkness, another long day of Viking life is waiting to begin. The first thing you do is listen. For several moments, you remain beneath the heavy wool blanket, perfectly still, listening to the quiet sounds of the farm waking around you. There is no clock beside the sleeping platform, no bell, no bright screen telling you that it is time to begin the day. Instead, the morning announces itself slowly. A cow shifts somewhere beyond the wall. The wooden boards beneath you creak as someone turns in their sleep. From the center of the farmhouse comes the softest sound of settling ash. The fire is still alive, barely. The side facing the hearth is warm. The other is cold enough that you pull the blanket closer. For another moment, you consider staying. It is tempting. Outside, winter darkness still covers the farm. There is nothing waiting beyond the doorway except frozen ground, snow, wind, and another day of work. But farms do not wait for comfortable mornings. Slowly, you sit up. The blanket falls away from your shoulders, and the cold reaches you immediately. Your breath appears faintly in front of your face. Around you, the other members of the household remain mostly asleep. There are no private bedrooms here. The farmhouse is a shared world. Sleeping places occupy the edges of the room. The hearth remains at the center. Tools, clothing, food, and people all exist within the same enclosed space. During the night, it has helped preserve warmth. Now, every movement is heard. You place your feet carefully onto the floor. The surface is cold. You reach for your wool clothing. The fabric feels coarse beneath your fingers. These clothes are not designed for comfort. They are designed to keep you alive. You pull on your layers and turn toward the hearth. The fire is your first responsibility. A farmer can endure many inconveniences: hunger, a wet cloak, a broken tool. But during a northern winter, losing the household fire is much more serious. You kneel beside the stones and examine the embers. They are still glowing beneath gray ash. Carefully, you move the ash aside with a piece of wood. A faint orange glow appears. You add a few small pieces of dry fuel. For a moment, nothing happens. Then one ember catches. A tiny flame appears. You lean closer and breathe gently toward it. The flame grows. Orange light moves across the darkness. The wooden walls emerge from the shadows. A hanging cloak becomes visible, followed by a wooden bucket and a row of tools resting against the wall. The farmhouse is waking with the fire. Someone behind you moves beneath a blanket. An older voice murmurs something quietly. You do not need to answer. Everyone knows what comes next. The animals. Before breakfast, before fieldwork, before almost anything else, the livestock must be checked. You open the door. The cold strikes immediately. The air carries the smell of snow and frozen earth, mixed with smoke drifting from another building. The sky is beginning to change. It is not sunrise yet, but the horizon is becoming lighter. You pull your cloak tightly around yourself and step outside. The farmstead is quiet. The farmhouse behind you glows faintly through the doorway. Other buildings stand nearby beneath roofs dusted with snow. A wooden fence disappears into the darkness. Beyond it lies the field. During summer, this land would have been green. Now it is almost entirely white. The silence is broken by the animals. You hear cattle shifting inside their shelter. They know the morning routine as well as you do. You walk toward them, boots crunching against frozen ground. There are no paved paths, only worn tracks, mud, snow, and footprints. You open the animal shelter. Warm, damp air meets your face. Inside, the animals are gathered closely together. Their breath rises in the cold air. The building is simple. It does not need to be beautiful. It needs to be warm enough. You move slowly among the animals, checking each one. A healthy animal is more than useful. It is part of the household's future. A cow can provide milk. Sheep provide wool. Goats provide milk and meat. Horses can carry loads and help with difficult work. Every animal represents food, clothing, labor, or wealth. That is why winter is so dangerous. The animals continue eating even when the fields produce nothing. Hay stored during the warmer months must be brought out carefully. Grain must be measured. Nothing can be wasted. You begin distributing feed. The animals respond. The quiet shelter fills with movement. Hooves scrape against straw. Wooden boards creak. Warm breath rises around you. For a few minutes, the outside world disappears. There's only the rhythm of the work. Feed, check, move, listen, repeat. And as you work, the darkness outside slowly begins to fade. Pale light reaches the edge of the sky. You step outside again. Now the farmstead is easier to see. Smoke rises from the farmhouse roof. The snow-covered fence runs toward the fields. Beyond it, the forest remains dark and silent. Somewhere behind you, someone has begun preparing the morning meal. The day has started. There is still water to carry, tools to inspect, food to prepare, and fences to check. Soon, if the weather allows, there will be work waiting in the fields. You stand in the cold and look across the land. This is the part of Viking life that stories rarely show. No swords are flashing, no ships are sailing toward distant kingdoms. Nothing dramatic is happening. And yet, this quiet morning matters. This is how the Viking world continues. One farm, one household, one animal, one harvest, one cold morning at a time. You pull your cloak tighter and turn back toward the farmhouse. The fire is burning now. The animals are fed. Inside, the smell of warm food is beginning to fill the room. By the time you return, gray light has begun to spread across the sky. The fire is burning again. Inside, the room feels warmer, though the cold still waits beyond the walls. A wooden bowl waits near the hearth. Breakfast is coming. But before you sit, another task cannot be forgotten. The animals will need more than a single handful of feed. Winter still grips the land, and stores gathered during warmer months must be used carefully. You look toward the doorway. Outside, snow still covers the ground. There is no green pasture waiting for the cattle, no fresh grass for sheep. No easy source of food grows beside the farmhouse. Everything the animals eat today was grown, gathered, dried, stored, and carried into shelter months earlier. That changes the way you look at the hay. It is no longer simply dried grass. It represents months of work. You step back outside and cross toward the storage building. The cold has sharpened with the approaching morning. A thin layer of frost covers the wooden boards, and your boots leave dark marks where the snow has been disturbed. You open the door. Inside, the smell of dried grass is immediate. The hay has been packed beneath the roof, protected from rain and snow. You take a bundle toward the animal shelter. It is not heavy, but the work is repetitive. That is what makes farming difficult. Not one enormous task, hundreds of small ones. Every day, you return with another bundle, then another. The animals know what is happening. Their movements become louder. A cow stretches its neck toward you. A sheep pushes forward among the others. You place the hay where they can reach it and step back. For a moment, the shelter becomes peaceful. The animals begin eating. The sound is soft and steady. Dry stalks moving between teeth. Hooves shifting against straw. Slow breathing in the cold air. You stand and watch. A farmer learns to notice small changes. An animal that refuses food. A cow that seems unusually tired. A sheep that has separated itself from the others. These things matter. There are no modern medicines waiting in a cabinet. No veterinarian can arrive within the hour. No truck can bring replacement livestock from another farm. The health of the animals is part of the household's daily attention, and livestock means more than food. This is easy to forget when imagining the Viking Age. A farm is not simply a place where crops are grown. Animals are part of its economy. Cattle provide milk and eventually meat. Sheep provide wool. Goats can provide milk and meat while surviving on rougher vegetation than some larger animals. Horses are valuable for transportation and labor. Even smaller animals contribute something useful. Nothing exists separately. The wool on someone's shoulders may have come from a sheep nearby. The milk for breakfast may have been collected that morning. Leather on a tool may have come from an animal belonging to the household years earlier. The farm is a circle. Animals feed people. People feed animals. The land supports both. Everyone depends upon the seasons. You carry another bundle. Your hands ache from the cold. The work would be easier later, when the sun is higher. But later there will be other work. Fences, water, tools, the fields. There is rarely an empty part of the day. You finish feeding the animals and begin checking the shelter itself. A loose board catches your attention. You push it gently. It moves. The wind could enter through the gap during a storm. You make a mental note to repair it. Then you notice another problem. One of the water containers is nearly empty. Of course, water. Another task. You carry the wooden bucket outside. The cold immediately becomes more noticeable. The nearest water source is not far away, but winter changes the meaning of distance. A path that might take only a few minutes during summer becomes harder when snow covers the ground. You walk carefully. The bucket swings against your leg. Ahead, the landscape is slowly brightening. The forest has begun to take shape against the morning sky. Behind you, smoke rises from the farmhouse. For a moment, you stop. It is a quiet scene. Nothing heroic, nothing dramatic. Yet almost every object around you represents work. The farmhouse, the animal shelter, the fence, the hay, the bucket, the tools. Even the path beneath your feet has been created by countless journeys between the same places. You continue toward the water, and as you walk, you begin to understand something important about Viking farming. The farm does not survive because one person is exceptionally strong. It survives because everyone remembers what needs to be done. One person carries water, another prepares food, someone repairs the fence, someone checks the animals, someone watches the fire, someone works the fields. Children learn by helping. Older people continue contributing through skills and knowledge. The farm is a collection of small responsibilities. And when those responsibilities are shared, the household becomes remarkably resilient. You reach the water. The surface is cold and dark. You fill the bucket carefully. Then you begin the walk back. The weight pulls against your arm. The cold air fills your lungs. But when you reach the animal shelter again, the animals are waiting. You set down the bucket. The morning is now fully awake. The first sunlight touches the tops of the distant trees. Inside the farmhouse, someone calls that breakfast is ready. You look once more at the animals. They are fed. They have water. The shelter is holding. For now, everything is as it should be. You step back toward the farmhouse. The warmth waiting inside feels different now. You have earned it. And as you enter, carrying the smell of hay and cold air with you, you realize that the Viking farmer's day has already been going for hours. By the time you leave the animal shelter, the sun has finally risen above the distant hills. Its light is weak. It does not yet feel warm. The snow still holds the pale blue color of early morning, and every breath remains visible in the air. But the farm is awake now. The quiet of night has disappeared. A door opens behind you. Someone carries a wooden bucket toward the farmhouse. Another person crosses the yard with an armful of firewood. From inside comes the smell of warm porridge. For a moment, you think about breakfast. Then you remember the work waiting beside the house. Water. A farmer cannot begin the day without it. You pick up the bucket again. The wooden handle is rough beneath your fingers. The walk to the water is familiar. Your feet almost know the path. Yet winter changes familiar journeys. Snow hides stones. Ice makes the ground slippery. A shallow stream can become dangerous when its surface freezes unevenly. You move carefully. The bucket is empty now, but you know it will feel different on the return journey. At the water's edge, you kneel. The surface is dark beneath a thin layer of ice. You break through it with the edge of the wooden bucket. The sound is surprisingly loud in the quiet morning. Crack. The ice gives way. Cold water fills the container. You lift it carefully. The weight pulls down on your arm. For a moment, you simply stand there, listening. The forest is still. Somewhere far away, a bird calls. Then you begin walking home. The farmhouse seems close now. Smoke rises steadily from the roof. When you enter the yard, someone takes the bucket from you. There is no need for thanks. This is how the household works. Everyone contributes. The water is carried inside. The animals have been fed. The fire is burning. Now comes breakfast. You enter the farmhouse and feel warmth return to your hands. The smell of cooked grain fills the room. The meal is simple. There is no abundance waiting on the table. There does not need to be. A bowl of warm porridge can be valuable when you have spent the first part of the morning outside in freezing air. You sit close to the hearth. Steam rises from the bowl. For a few minutes, work stops. People eat quietly. The youngest members of the household begin to wake fully. An older person sits near the fire, warming their hands. Someone checks the food. Another person adds wood to the flames. Even breakfast contains work. Food has to be measured. Grain has to last. Nothing is taken for granted. What is available today must be balanced against tomorrow. This is one of the great differences between your world and the Viking farmer's world.
You cannot simply buy more. If grain runs low, there is no nearby shop.
If the harvest was poor, the household lives with the consequences. Every meal carries the memory of earlier seasons. The grain in your bowl was planted months ago. Dried carefully, stored against moisture, protected from animals. Then carried into storage before winter closed the fields. You take another spoonful. Warmth spreads through your body. Then breakfast ends. The work begins again. Today, one of the fences needs attention. You notice the problem immediately. A section near the animal enclosure has shifted. Perhaps frozen ground shifted it. Perhaps an animal pushed against it. Perhaps years of wind and rain weakened the timber. Whatever the reason, it cannot remain this way. You gather a few tools. An axe, a wooden mallet, a length of rope. The tools are simple, but each has value. An iron blade is not casually replaced. Wood must be chosen carefully. Handles must fit the hand. Edges need sharpening. Broken equipment means lost time. You walk toward the fence. Snow crunches beneath your boots. The sun is higher now. The light is brighter. The air remains cold. You begin removing the damaged section. The work requires patience. You cannot tear everything apart and rebuild it. Good timber must be saved. Useful pieces must be reused. The Viking farm is built around this principle. Repair what can be repaired. Reuse what can be reused. Waste as little as possible. You lift a post from the frozen ground. It resists. You push harder. The post finally comes free. For a moment, you nearly lose balance. You step back and catch yourself. Someone nearby laughs. You look over. An older farmer is watching. He shakes his head. You smile. Even difficult work contains moments like this. A joke, a glance, a shared understanding that everyone has struggled with stubborn wood. You return to the fence. The replacement post goes into place. The hole must be widened. The ground is hard. Your hands ache. Eventually, the post settles into position. You pack earth and stones around it. Then you secure the rail. The fence is not beautiful. It does not need to be. It only needs to stand. The repair looks strong enough. One small problem is solved. Already you can see the next task. Firewood needs moving. Tools need cleaning. The roof needs checking before the next storm. The fields will need attention when the season allows. This is what a Viking farmer's morning looks like. Not one great act of labor. A chain of ordinary responsibilities. Each task depends upon the one before it. The animals need food. The animals need shelter. The shelter needs a fence. The household needs water. The household needs fire. The fire needs wood. The food needs grain. The grain depends upon the fields. And the fields depend upon the weather. Everything is connected. You stand beside the repaired fence and look across the farm. The sun now touches the tops of the buildings. The cold remains. But the day is moving forward. And so are you. An entire farm is still waiting for your hands. The farmhouse looks different now that the sun has risen. Before dawn, it seemed like a shelter floating inside the cold. Now you can see it clearly. It is not enormous. There are no stone corridors, polished floors, or separate rooms. The farmhouse is long and practical, built from timber, earth, and local materials. Its shape is simple. Its purpose is not. You step through the doorway and pause. The hearth's warmth reaches you first. Then comes the smell. Smoke, wood, wool, food, animals. The scents of ordinary life have gathered here over many years. Heavy wooden beams support the roof above you. There is no modern chimney carrying every trace of smoke outside. Smoke slowly finds its way upward through openings near the roof. Some escapes, some remains. It hangs in the air as a faint blue haze. If you were expecting a perfectly clean room, you might be surprised. But the people who live here are accustomed to it. The smoke has become part of the house. It can help dry clothing. It can discourage insects. It can help preserve food above the fire. Even discomfort can be useful. You look toward the central hearth. This is the heart of the farmhouse. Everything seems to return to it. People gather around it, food is prepared beside it, wet clothing is dried near it, tools are repaired within its light. During the long winter nights, stories are told around it. And when the temperature outside falls far below freezing, the fire becomes more than a source of comfort. It becomes protection. You notice sleeping platforms along the walls. At night, these spaces become beds. During the day, they become benches or work areas. There is little wasted space. A wooden chest may hold clothing. A bowl may be used for eating, measuring, or storage. A rope may serve one purpose today and another tomorrow. Everything has a purpose. You begin to understand why the farmhouse feels different from a modern home. Modern houses are divided into specialized spaces: a kitchen for cooking, a bedroom for sleeping, a dining room for eating, a workshop for making things, a laundry room for washing. Here, many of those activities happen in the same room. The farmhouse is not divided by function. Life happens together. You hear someone working near the fire, while another repairs clothing. A child moves between the sleeping platforms. Someone carries food from storage. An older farmer sits near the wall, sharpening a tool. No one needs another room. There is nowhere else to go. That closeness has disadvantages. Privacy is limited. Smoke can be irritating. Noise travels easily. If someone wakes at night, others may wake too. But there are advantages. Warmth is shared. Work is visible. Children learn by watching. Older people can pass knowledge to younger members without formal lessons. The farmhouse becomes a classroom. You notice a young child beside an adult repairing clothing. The child watches carefully. No one is giving a lecture. There is no written instruction. The lesson happens through observation. Hands move. The child watches. Eventually, the child will try. This is how knowledge survives. Through repetition. A way of tying a knot. A way of shaping wood. A way of preparing food. A way of recognizing a sick animal. A way of judging whether a roof will survive another winter. The house contains generations of practical knowledge. You walk towards storage. Here, the atmosphere changes. It is darker, cooler. That is useful. Food does not always benefit from warmth. Grain needs protection from moisture. Dried meat needs to remain safe. Milk and other foods need careful handling. The household stores represent months of work. You can imagine the warmer season when these supplies were gathered. Long days, green fields, animals outside, people carrying baskets, hands working until evening. Now those months have become sacks, jars, bundles, and hanging food. The winter farmhouse is also a kind of memory. Every stored item tells you about the past. Grain tells you about the harvest. Hay tells you about summer. Dried fish tells you about the water. Wool tells you about the sheep. Firewood tells you how carefully someone planned for winter. Nothing appeared here by accident. You turn back toward the hearth. The room is brighter. Everyone is awake now. Breakfast is nearly finished. A child carries an empty bowl towards storage. Someone adds wood to the fire. An older woman adjusts a blanket near the wall. Outside, the farm continues. Inside, the farmhouse remains the center of everything. This is where the family sleeps, where food is prepared, where tools are repaired, where children learn, where people wait out storms, where daily stories become memories. This is one of the most important things to understand about Viking farming. The farm was not simply fields surrounding a house. The house was the center of a small world. Animals, fields, tools, food stores, family, and seasons were connected to it. When the harvest was good, the house felt secure. When animals were healthy, the household was stronger. When winter storms arrived, everyone gathered inside. When spring returned, the same doorway would open again. You stand near that doorway. Cold air moves across your face. Behind you, the fire crackles. Ahead, the fields wait beneath the morning sky. The farmhouse is warm. The world outside is cold. For a Viking farmer, survival depends upon moving between these two worlds every day. The farmhouse is behind you now. You stand at the edge of the fields with a wooden tool resting against your shoulder, looking across a landscape that seems almost impossible to work. Snow covers much of the ground. The earth beneath it is hard. The morning sun has climbed higher, but its warmth is weak. This is not the season when a farmer can simply walk outside and begin planting. For now, the fields are waiting, and yet they still demand attention. You walk slowly along the boundary, following the familiar line between cultivated ground and the rough land beyond it. A fence marks part of the edge. In other places, the boundary is less obvious. A stone, a shallow ditch, a line remembered by everyone who has worked here. The farm does not end at a perfectly measured border. It fades gradually into the surrounding landscape. You stop beside a patch where the snow has thinned. Beneath it, the soil is dark, frozen, still sleeping. During the warmer months, this same earth will become the center of your attention. It will be turned, broken, planted, and watched. But the harvest begins long before a seed enters the ground. It begins with preparation. You look at the tools in your hands. They are simple compared with the machines used by modern farmers. There is no engine, no tractor, no metal blades stretching several meters behind a powerful machine. Instead, there are wooden handles, iron edges, and tools powered entirely by human effort and animals. That changes the rhythm of farming. Every movement matters. Every field takes time. Every difficult patch of earth requires patience. You walk toward a section of the farm that needs checking. The ground is uneven here. A few stones have appeared near the surface. They may have been pushed upward by freezing soil. You kneel and clear away the snow. Your fingers touch the earth. It is hard as wood. There is nothing you can do with it yet. So you stand again. This is another lesson the land teaches. A farmer cannot command the seasons. You can prepare, you can plan, you can work, but you cannot make winter leave. The weather decides when the field is ready. You continue walking. Near the edge of the field, you find an old wooden marker lying in the snow. You lift it. The timber is weathered and dark. Perhaps it has marked this boundary for years. You carry it toward the fence. Someone will repair it later. Nothing on a farm is truly finished. A tool breaks, a fence weakens, a roof leaks, a field grows tired, an animal becomes sick. There is always something waiting. You begin to understand why farming can feel endless. The work repeats because life repeats. Every year brings another planting season, another harvest, another winter, another attempt to store enough food to reach spring. The cycle is simple, but simple does not mean easy. You walk farther into the field. Small patches of brown vegetation are beginning to appear. The sight is almost insignificant, yet you notice it immediately. The first signs that winter will not last forever. You crouch and touch one of the exposed plants. It is small, fragile, barely alive, but it has survived. You straighten again. There will be no planting today. Not yet, but soon the fields will change. The silence of winter will give way to movement. Animals will return to the pasture. People will carry tools into the open ground. Seeds will be sorted. Soil will be prepared. And the success of all those efforts will depend upon something no farmer can control completely. Rain, sun, warmth, the length of the growing season, the absence of destructive storms. You look toward the distant hills. Weather is not simply something you notice. It is something you watch. A farmer learns the sky, clouds, wind, temperature, snow, the timing of rain. A sudden change in weather can alter plans that took months to prepare. That is why the seasons live so strongly in the mind of the farmer. Winter is not simply cold. It is the season of stored food. Spring is not simply warmer. It is preparation. Summer is not simply pleasant. It is labor. Autumn is not simply beautiful. It is harvest. Every season carries its own responsibilities. You begin walking back toward the farmhouse. Your boots leave a line of footprints across the snow. Behind you, the field remains almost unchanged, but you know it differently now. You can imagine what it will become. The same land that looks empty today will eventually be filled with crops. The same frozen soil beneath your feet will one day support the food that fills the household stores. And the same field will determine how difficult the next winter becomes. This is why the farmer's relationship with the land is so personal. The land is not scenery, it is survival. You reach the fence and rest your hands against the rough timber. The wood is cold. You look back across the field. There are no dramatic signs of progress, no great achievement to celebrate, only preparation. And perhaps that is what farming demands most: the ability to work for something that will not exist for months, to plant a seed and wait, to gather hay in summer for animals that will eat it in winter, to repair a roof before the storm arrives, to store grain before the fields disappear beneath snow, to prepare today for a future you cannot see. You turn toward the farmhouse. Smoke rises above the roof. The animals are moving in their shelter. Someone is carrying firewood across the yard. The ordinary rhythm of the farm continues. And as you walk home, you realize that the fields may look asleep, but the farmer is never completely asleep. Even in winter, part of the mind is already thinking about spring. By the time you return from the fields, the farmhouse has become warmer. The fire has been fed again, and the smell of food has spread through the room. You remove your cloak and place it near the hearth. A little snow melts from the fabric. Then you look toward the table. Food is being prepared. For a Viking farming household, meals are not simply moments when people stop working. Food is another part of the work. Before anything can be eaten, something has to be grown, gathered, milked, hunted, dried, ground, stored, or prepared. Even a simple bowl of porridge represents a long chain of effort. You watch as grain is measured into a wooden container. It is not poured carelessly. Someone knows how much remains. That knowledge matters. The grain store is not an endless supply. It has to last until the next harvest. A household can eat well for a few weeks and still face hunger months later if its stores are managed badly. So the farmer learns another kind of patience. You must think beyond today. The grain being prepared now may have to last through another cold spell. The hay stored outside must remain available for the animals. The preserved meat cannot be eaten simply because everyone happens to be hungry. There will always be another tomorrow. You sit near the hearth and watch the preparation. A hand mill is brought forward. 2 heavy stones are fitted together. Grain is placed into the opening at the top. Then the upper stone is turned. Slowly, again and again, stone against stone, grain breaking beneath the pressure. This is one of those tasks that modern life makes easy to forget. Today, flour arrives already prepared. You open a container, you measure what you need, you begin cooking. But here, even flour requires labor. Someone has grown the grain, someone has harvested it, someone has dried it, someone has stored it, and now someone must grind it. The food on the table carries all of that history with it. You take a turn at the mill. The stone is heavier than it looks. After several rotations, your shoulder begins to ache. One person turns, another rests. Someone else measures the grain. A child watches. The rhythm continues. Eventually enough flour has been produced. The dough is prepared with water. Perhaps some milk is added. The food is simple because the ingredients available to an ordinary farm household are simple. The dough is shaped. A flat loaf is placed near the heat. The smell begins to change. Warm grain, smoke, fire. The farmhouse slowly fills with the scent of baking bread. Outside, the winter air remains cold. Inside, everyone seems to notice the same thing. Food is almost ready. You watch another person prepare a small wooden bowl of dairy. Milk has its own story. It begins with the animals you fed earlier. The cow or goat had to be healthy. It had to survive the winter. It had to be fed. That milk may be drunk fresh, turned into butter, or transformed into another food that can last longer. Again, the farm reveals its circle. The animals provide food. The land provides food for both. You are handed a warm piece of bread. You hold it for a moment. The heat reaches your fingers. Then you take a bite. It is simple, but after a cold morning outside, it tastes better than you expected. Perhaps that is another lesson of farming life. Food is appreciated differently when you know exactly how much work it required. A farmer does not see a loaf only as a loaf. They see the field, the seed, the weather, the harvest, the grinding, the fire, the hands that prepared it. You look around the farmhouse, but there is enough. And for an ordinary household, enough can be a powerful word. Enough grain, enough milk, enough bread, enough preserved food, enough hay for the animals, enough firewood to survive another cold night. After the bread is finished, there is still work to do. Food cannot simply be left uncovered. Containers must be closed, leftovers must be protected. Milk must be handled carefully, the fire must be adjusted. Someone checks the stores again. The same grain that was measured earlier is returned to its container. A wooden lid is placed over the top. You realize that food storage is almost as important as food preparation. A harvest can be excellent and still fail a family if too much is spoiled. Moisture can damage grain, pests can consume stored food, poorly preserved meat can become dangerous. So the farmer must think ahead. Drying, smoking, salting, storing. Every method helps extend the life of food. You glance toward the doorway. Outside, the fields remain frozen. Nothing is growing. And yet inside this farmhouse, summer is still present. It is there in the grain, in the dried herbs, in the preserved meat, in the hay, in the wool. The warmer months have been stored inside the house. You return to the hearth. The bread is cooling now. The fire crackles softly. Someone begins cleaning the hand mill. The work of preparing food is almost finished, but you know it will begin again tomorrow, and the day after that. Because on a Viking farm, eating is never completely separate from farming. Every meal is connected to the land. Every loaf carries a harvest. Every cup of milk carries an animal. Every winter meal carries the memory of summer. You look down at the last piece of bread in your hand. Outside, the wind moves across the frozen fields. Inside, the farmhouse is warm. For now, the household has enough. And for a farmer, that is one of the greatest comforts the winter can offer. After the meal, you step back into the cold. The animal shelter is waiting. You can hear the cattle before you reach the door. A low sound comes from inside. Then another. They are restless. Winter makes animals restless. They spend more time indoors eating food that took months to gather, and their entire health depends upon how carefully the household cares for them.
You open the door. Warm air moves across your face again.
Outside, the morning is cold and bright. Inside, the shelter is dark, damp, and alive with movement. You walk slowly between the animals. You look carefully at each one. You are looking for signs. Is one standing apart? Is another refusing its food? Does one seem weaker than yesterday? Has an animal injured a leg? Small changes can matter. A farmer does not need to know everything about medicine to understand that something is wrong. Years of observation teach the eye. You stop beside one cow that seems quieter than the others. You watch it chew. You place a hand against its side. The animal shifts slightly. You move on. The straw beneath your feet is damp in places. It needs changing. Fresh bedding means more work, but dirty bedding can make the shelter colder and less healthy. You gather the old straw and carry it outside. The air feels colder after the warmth inside. You drop the used straw onto a growing pile. Later, it may be useful again. Nothing is wasted if it can be given another purpose. You return with fresh straw. The cattle watch you. You spread it across the floor. The shelter becomes cleaner and drier. But farming is full of small improvements. A little more hay, a stronger fence, a repaired roof, a cleaner shelter. Each one protects something valuable. For a Viking farming household, a cow is not simply an animal standing in a building. It represents milk. Milk can become butter. It can become cheese. It can be consumed fresh. The animal can eventually provide meat. Its hide can be turned into leather. Its strength can contribute to the farm's work. Its offspring can increase the household's wealth. One healthy animal can support a family in many different ways. That is why losing livestock can be serious. A harsh winter can weaken animals. A disease can spread. A lack of feed can reduce their strength. An accident can change a household's fortunes. You look toward the hay. There is still enough. But you know exactly how quickly the pile will become smaller. Every day, the animals eat. Every day, the stores decline. The farmer is always balancing what is available now against what will be needed later. You carry another portion of hay into the shelter. The cattle move toward it. For a moment, the room becomes noisy. Then, the animals settle again. You watch them eat. There is something strangely calming about the rhythm. The slow movement of jaws, the sound of straw beneath hooves, the warmth of their bodies, the soft creaking of the wooden shelter. Outside, the wind moves across the farm. Inside, the animals continue eating. This is not dramatic, but it is important. You begin to understand how closely the farmer's day follows the animals. They cannot wait. They cannot understand that you are tired. They cannot be told that the weather is terrible. They need food whether the sky is clear or full of snow. They need water, they need shelter, they need attention. Their needs create a rhythm that shapes the entire household. You check the water again. The surface has begun to freeze around the edges. You break the thin ice and refill the container. The cattle drink. You step back. One of the animals nudges the wooden trough. The sound makes you smile. Then you notice a loose section of the shelter wall. Cold air is entering through the gap. You touch the timber. It moves slightly. You find a piece of spare wood. It is not perfectly shaped. It doesn't need to be. You fit it against the opening and secure it with rope. The gap becomes smaller. The wind is blocked. Another problem solved. It is easy to imagine Viking farming as endless physical strength, but much of it is attention. Looking, listening, remembering, noticing what has changed since yesterday. The farmer's knowledge is built from thousands of these observations. You learn which animal is usually the first to eat, which fence post moves after heavy rain, which part of the roof leaks, which field dries first, which patch of grass remains green longest. The farm teaches you its patterns, and if you pay attention, those patterns begin to feel almost like another language. You leave the shelter and close the door behind you. The cattle are fed, they have water, the bedding is fresh, the wall is repaired. For now, they are protected from the cold. You look back toward the farmhouse. Smoke rises into the pale sky. Someone is carrying tools across the yard. Another person is working near the woodpile. The farm continues moving, and you realize that caring for animals is not a separate part of farming. It is one of its foundations. The fields feed the animals feed the household protects the animals, and the cycle begins again with every season. You pull your cloak tighter. The sun is higher now. The cold remains, but the day is already becoming brighter. There is still work waiting. There always is. But for a moment, you can feel the quiet satisfaction of knowing that the animals are safe. And on a Viking farm, that is no small thing. By late morning, the farm has become busier. The quiet sounds of dawn have been replaced by the steady rhythm of work. Wood is being carried across the yard. Animals move behind the fences. Someone is splitting firewood. And beside the farmhouse, you have begun sorting through the tools. There is no large workshop waiting for you. Instead, a small sheltered space contains the things the farm depends upon. Axes, knives, wooden handles, rope, whetstones, iron fittings, pieces of timber. A tool may have been repaired many times, a handle replaced, a blade sharpened, a rope retied, a wooden piece reshaped until it fits exactly where it is needed. You pick up an axe. The handle is worn smooth, where hands have held it for years. You run your fingers across the wood. There are small dents, marks from use. You inspect the iron edge. It has become dull. The edge needs attention. You sit near the doorway and bring the whetstone closer. The first movement is slow, stone against iron, again and again. The sound is quiet, almost soothing. An axe is useful only when it is maintained. A dull blade makes work harder. A damaged handle can become dangerous. A loose head can ruin a day's labor. So the farmer does not simply use tools, the farmer cares for them. You finish the axe and set it beside you. Then you examine a smaller knife. Its blade has a little rust near the edge. You rub it carefully. The work is small, but the same principle applies. Nothing should be discarded simply because it has become worn. Materials are valuable, iron especially. For an ordinary farming household, metal objects are not something casually replaced. An iron knife represents work somewhere else. Ore had to be obtained. Metal had to be produced. The object had to be shaped. Someone had to trade for it or make it. Once it reaches the farm, it becomes part of everyday life. So you protect it, you sharpen it, you repair it, you keep using it. You look toward a pile of timber beside the workshop. Some pieces are long, others are short, a few are irregular. Even the strange pieces may become useful. A fence post, a handle, a peg, a support, a replacement board. After the tools are checked, you turn toward the fence. The morning repair is not finished. One section still needs reinforcement. You carry a wooden rail across the yard. It is heavier than it looks. The snow makes the ground uneven, and you have to walk carefully. At the fence, you place the rail against the posts. Another person joins you. Together, you hold it in position. A length of rope is passed around the timber. The knot has to be tight. You pull. The rope bites into the wood. Another pull, then another. The rail settles into place. A farm fence is easy to overlook. Yet without it, animals can wander into fields, disappear into the forest, or damage crops. The fence quietly separates one part of the farm from another. It protects food. It protects animals. It protects work that may have taken months. You walk along the fence after the repair. There are weak points everywhere, not enough to demand immediate rebuilding, but enough to remember. A farmer learns to see these things: the loose post, the broken rail, the gap beneath the fence, the place where snow has pushed against the wood. Some repairs can wait, others cannot. Knowing the difference is part of the skill. You return to the tools. A wooden handle needs replacing. You select a piece of timber. It must be strong, but not too heavy. You hold it in your hand and imagine how it will feel after hours of work. The shape matters. The balance matters. The grit matters. You begin shaping it. Small pieces of wood fall to the ground. A rushed repair can create more work later. A carefully fitted handle can survive for years. You smooth the wood, test it, adjust it, test it again. You fit it to the tool. The handle sits firmly in place. You lift the finished axe. It feels balanced. Around you, the farm continues. A child carries a small piece of wood toward the fire. Someone calls from the animal shelter. A horse stamps its foot in the cold. Smoke drifts above the roof. The repaired fence stands beside the field. The sharpened tools rest in your hands. Nothing dramatic has happened, yet the farm is stronger than it was this morning. One tool is ready. One fence is stronger. One weak point has been removed. That is how a farm survives, not through a single great effort, through hundreds of repairs that prevent small problems from becoming disasters. You look across the yard. The sun is now high enough to cast shorter shadows. The cold remains, but the work has warmed your hands. You place the tools where they will stay dry. Then, you step back toward the farmhouse. There will be another task waiting. There always is. But for now, the tools are ready. The fence is standing, and the farm can continue into another afternoon. Snow remains along the edges of the field, and the ground beneath your boots is firm. This is not the easiest time of year to work the land, but there are always things that can be done. Even when the fields are frozen, their condition must be watched. You walk toward the section you inspected earlier. The snow has melted slightly where the sunlight reaches most strongly. Small patches of dark soil have appeared. You kneel and press your fingers into the ground. It is still hard, but the surface is changing. You pick up a wooden tool and begin clearing loose stones from the edge of the field. The work seems almost pointless at first. There are only a few stones. But stones can damage tools and make later work more difficult. So you remove them, one by one. You place them along the field boundary. Soon, a small pile begins to form. This is how the land is prepared. Not all at once, slowly, year after year. You continue along the edge. The field is uneven. In some places, the soil is deeper. In others, the ground is thin and mixed with stone. A farmer learns these differences. Certain crops will grow better in one place than another. Some areas hold water, others dry quickly. Some patches are protected from the wind, others are exposed. You stop beside a shallow depression where snow has gathered. When spring comes, this area will probably remain wet longer than the rest. You make a mental note. Perhaps it will be better suited to a different crop. Perhaps it should be left alone. The decision may seem small, but farming is built from decisions like this. A cold wind moves across the open ground. You pull your cloak tighter. There is little shelter here. The farmhouse seems far away now. The trees along the edge of the property offer some protection, but the middle of the field is exposed. You understand why the weather matters so much. A farmer can prepare the soil perfectly and still lose everything to a storm. A late frost can damage young plants. Too much rain can destroy a crop. Too little rain can weaken it. Strong winds can flatten fields. Hail can arrive without warning. The land gives no promises. That uncertainty follows you through every season. You look toward the sky. The clouds have begun to gather. Not enough to bring immediate concern, but enough to notice. You continue your work. There are old crop remains along one section of the field. They must eventually be cleared. You pull them loose and gather them into a small pile. Some material may be burned. Some may be used elsewhere. Some may simply return to the soil. Nothing needs to happen quickly. The important thing is to keep preparing. Then you hear something else. A bird. Its call comes from the trees. You look toward the forest. The sound is small, but it feels like a reminder. Winter will not last forever. The fields may appear empty now, but the next season is already approaching. Further along, you find a section of earth exposed by melting snow. There are tiny shoots beginning to appear. They are not crops. They are early plants pushing through the soil. Still, you stop to look. The sight is strangely encouraging. For months, the world has been white and brown. Now there is the smallest hint of green. You touch one of the shoots carefully. It bends beneath your finger and springs back. Life is returning. Not dramatically, not all at once. Quietly, you begin walking back toward the farm. On the way, you inspect the drainage ditch beside the field. Snow has blocked part of it. If spring rain arrives quickly, the water may have nowhere to go. You clear away the packed snow and loose branches. Water begins to move. At first it is only a trickle. Then the flow becomes steadier. The sound is surprisingly pleasant. You watch it for a moment. This is another task that will probably never appear in stories about the Vikings. Yet it matters. A blocked ditch can flood a field. A flooded field can ruin a harvest. And a ruined harvest can make winter much harder. The connection is always there. Small work leads to larger consequences. The afternoon light has begun to soften. Smoke rises from the roof. Animals move behind the fences. Someone is carrying a basket toward the storage area. But now you understand how much work is hidden inside that peaceful appearance. The fences were repaired, the animals were fed, the food was prepared, the tools were sharpened, the fields were inspected, the drainage was cleared. None of these tasks are extraordinary. Together, they are the reason the farm continues. You reach the edge of the field and turn around. The land still looks frozen. It still looks asleep. But you know better. Beneath the snow, the soil is changing. Water is beginning to move. The days are becoming longer. And somewhere beneath the cold ground, the next season is waiting. You pick up your tools and start walking home. The familiar path feels different after so many hours outside. Every step carries the quiet evidence of work completed. Your hands are tired, your boots are damp, the wind has left your face cold. But there is something satisfying about returning after a day spent working the land. The farm has not changed dramatically. It doesn't need to. You have simply kept it ready. And sometimes, that is what survival means. Not conquering the world, not doing something heroic. Simply making sure that when spring finally arrives, the farm is ready to receive it. The afternoon light is beginning to fade when you find yourself thinking about summer. It is strange how quickly the mind travels backward. Only a few hours ago, you were standing in a frozen field. Now, as you look across the farm, you can almost see the same land beneath a completely different sky. Green, warm, busy. The fields would once have been filled with movement. People walking between rows, animals grazing beyond the fences, tools working through the soil, children carrying small bundles. The long days of summer would have felt endless, but the harvest would have been waiting, and everything you have done today would have depended upon it. You walk toward the storage building. Inside, the grain remains stacked in containers and sacks. There is less than there was months ago. That is expected. Winter is consuming the harvest slowly. Every bowl of porridge, every loaf of bread, every handful of grain given to animals reduces the stores. You look at what remains. This is the measure of the farm's success. Not how impressive the farmhouse looks, not how many tools hang beside the wall, not how large the fields appear. The harvest is what matters. A good harvest can make winter manageable. A poor harvest can make every cold month frightening. You reach toward one of the grain containers and lift the lid. The smell is dry and earthy. You run your fingers through the grain. Each kernel is small, almost insignificant. Yet together these grains can feed a household. That is the strange thing about farming. Great survival depends upon tiny things: a seed, a handful of soil, a little rain, a few warm days, then another season of waiting. You remember the planting. The fields were different then. The snow had disappeared. The soil had softened. People worked from morning until evening. There was no time to waste. Seeds had to enter the ground at the right moment. Too early, and cold could damage them. Too late, and the growing season might not be long enough. You can almost feel the warmth of that season now. Sun on your face, mud beneath your boots. Long evenings when darkness arrived slowly. It seems very far away from the winter landscape outside. But the two seasons are connected. Summer is what allows winter to exist. Without the harvest, the cold season becomes dangerous. You close the grain container and continue through the storage area. There are other supplies here: dried meat, fish, perhaps dairy products that have been preserved, bundles of herbs, containers holding seeds for the coming season. Every item represents planning. The farmer is always preparing for a future that has not arrived. That future may be tomorrow. It may be next month. It may be next spring. You stop beside the seed stores. These are different from the grain being eaten. They are being protected. It must become the beginning of another harvest. This requires discipline. Imagine being hungry in late winter and knowing that food is available nearby. But some of it cannot be eaten. It has another purpose. It must be planted. If you consume everything today, tomorrow becomes impossible. This is why farming requires thinking beyond immediate comfort. You close the seed container carefully. The storage building is quiet. Outside, the wind moves through the yard. You can hear the animals. A wooden door creaks. Somewhere nearby, someone is splitting firewood. The farm continues. You walk outside. The sky is turning pale gold near the horizon. The fields are darker now. Snow reflects the last light. You look toward the land and imagine the harvest again. The cutting of crops, the gathering, the carrying, the drying, the storage, the exhaustion. It would not have been a single day. Harvest was a period of intense labor. Everyone who could help would have a role. Adults, children, older members of the household. The work had to be completed before weather destroyed what remained in the fields. This is why a good harvest was not simply a pleasant season. It was a race against time. Rain could arrive. Wind could flatten crops. Cold could come early. The farmer watched the sky constantly. And when the harvest was finally safely stored, there must have been relief. Perhaps a feast. Perhaps a quiet evening around the fire. Perhaps simply the knowledge that the household could face winter with better chances of survival. You think about that relief now. Standing in the cold months later, you understand its importance. Every warm meal you have eaten this winter began there. Every loaf of bread, every bowl of porridge, every handful of feed. The harvest is still feeding you. That is why farmers could never truly forget the previous summer. The past remained inside the storage room. You turn back toward the farmhouse. The last sunlight is disappearing. A warm glow comes from the doorway. Someone has lit the hearth for the evening. You step inside. The room feels warmer. The day's work is almost finished. You sit near the fire and let your hands rest. For a moment, you think about the field outside. It looks empty, but it is not empty. It contains the promise of another harvest. And that promise will begin with the first thaw, the first softened soil, and the first seed placed carefully into the ground. Until then, the household will continue to live from what the previous season provided. This is the rhythm of the Viking farm. Summer gives, autumn gathers, winter consumes, spring begins again. And through every season, the farmer waits, works, watches, and hopes. You look into the fire. The flames move quietly. Outside, the winter night settles over the fields. Inside, the harvest remains close. For now, there is enough. The evening has almost arrived when you notice the change. The wind has become stronger. You can hear it moving across the roof, pressing against the wooden walls of the farmhouse. The sky beyond the doorway has darkened. Clouds have gathered over the distant hills. You step outside to look at the sky. The air feels different. The cold has sharpened. Snow begins to move across the ground in small patches, pushed along by the wind. You turn toward the animal shelter. The cattle are already restless. They sense the weather before the storm arrives. You walk quickly toward them. The first thing you check is the shelter itself. The door is secure. The roof appears to be holding, but you notice a gap near one corner where the wind is entering. It needs attention. You find a piece of timber and carry it over. The wind is stronger now. Your cloak pulls against your shoulders. Snow touches your face. You fit the timber across the gap and secure it as best you can. You check the animals again. They are crowded together. Their bodies create warmth. The shelter is darker now. Outside, the world is beginning to disappear behind blowing snow. You close the door. The storm is louder here. Wind presses against the walls. The roof creaks. The animals shift beneath the straw. You leave the shelter and return to the farmhouse. The wind follows you across the yard. By now, the snow is falling more heavily. You can see only a short distance beyond the buildings. The forest has almost disappeared. The fields are gone beneath a moving sheet of white. This is why winter travel can become dangerous. A path that was obvious in daylight can vanish within minutes. A familiar landscape can become unrecognizable. You hurry toward the farmhouse. Inside, the difference is immediate. The fire is burning brightly. People are closing the door. A blanket has been moved closer to the hearth. Someone checks the roof opening. Another person adds wood to the fire. Everyone understands what is happening. This is one of the great strengths of the longhouse. When the weather becomes dangerous, people can gather together. The fire provides warmth. The walls provide shelter. The animals are protected nearby. Food stores remain close. The farm becomes a small, enclosed world. You sit near the hearth. The wind continues outside. It rises and falls like a distant voice. The fire answers with soft cracks. Someone begins repairing a piece of clothing. Another person checks a wooden tool. A child sits close to an older family member. There is work even during a storm, but it is slower now. The weather has changed the rhythm. No one is rushing toward the fields. No one is carrying heavy loads across the yard. Instead, people do whatever can safely be done indoors. Clothing is repaired. Rope is twisted. Tools are cleaned. Food is prepared. Stories may be told. Snow is beginning to collect against it. Someone clears the entrance. The fire needs more wood. You stand and add another piece. The flames rise. Warmth spreads through the room. You sit again. The storm continues. You can hear the wind, the breathing of the animals, the crackle of the fire, the quiet voices of the household. Nothing else. Then the roof makes a louder sound. Everyone looks upward. Another gust strikes the building. The timber creaks, but the roof holds. The sound fades. Someone laughs softly. The tension disappears. For a moment, everyone returns to their work. The storm continues for hours. The household eats a simple evening meal. The fire is fed carefully. No one wants to waste fuel. Outside, the snow grows deeper. Inside, the walls remain warm. Eventually, the wind begins to weaken. The sound becomes softer. Snow still falls, but the worst has passed. You step toward the doorway. When you open it, cold air rushes inside. The landscape has changed. Snow covers the yard. The fences are almost hidden. The path to the animal shelter has disappeared. You will need to clear it in the morning. But for tonight, the animals are safe. The roof is holding. The fire is alive. The food stores remain dry. You close the door again. The farmhouse becomes warm and quiet. You return to your place beside the hearth. The storm has reminded you of something simple. A farm is never completely under your control. The weather can change everything, but preparation can make the difference. Strong walls, stored food, dry firewood, healthy animals, good tools, a repaired roof. These things do not stop winter. They simply help you meet it. You look into the fire. You think about the morning that will come after the storm. The farm will look unfamiliar beneath the new snow. Every path will have to be found again. The first footsteps will belong to the people who rise early. They will open the door carefully, look at the sky, and begin measuring what the night has changed. Perhaps a fence will have fallen. Perhaps a branch will have broken. Perhaps nothing serious will have happened at all. That uncertainty is part of living so closely with the land. You cannot remove the risk. You can only prepare for it, Then wake up and see what remains. For tonight, the storm has passed, the fire is still glowing, and everyone can finally rest. Outside, the snow continues falling softly. Inside, the household settles down. Tomorrow there will be more work. The path will need clearing. The animals will need checking. The fences may need attention. But for now, the storm is passing. The storm has passed, but darkness has arrived early. You can feel it before you see it. The farmhouse has become quieter. Outside, the last light has disappeared behind the hills, and the snow-covered farm is slowly turning into a world of shadows. Inside, the hearth is the center of everything. The fire burns steadily now. Its light reaches only part of the room, leaving the corners dark. You sit close enough to feel its warmth without getting too close. Your hands are tired from the day's work. Your shoulders ache. Your boots are damp from the snow. For the first time since morning, there is nowhere you need to hurry. The evening belongs to the household. Winter evenings are long. There are fewer outdoor tasks after dark, and the weather can make travel unpleasant or dangerous. So the farmhouse becomes a place for work that can be done indoors. Someone brings out a piece of wool. Another person checks a wooden tool. A knife is sharpened. A rope is repaired. Clothing is inspected for weak places. Nothing is wasted. A small tear in a garment may not seem important tonight, but if the tear grows larger tomorrow, cold air can enter. A missing rope can become a problem when animals need securing. A damaged tool can make a future task harder. So the quiet hours are useful. You watch an older member of the household work with wool. The hands move slowly and confidently. There is no need to explain every movement. This knowledge has been learned over years. You watch carefully. The wool is twisted. The fibers are arranged. A thread becomes stronger through patience. You begin to understand that winter is not simply a season of waiting. It is a season of maintenance. The work that cannot be done in the fields is replaced by another kind of work. Making, repairing, preparing, remembering, planning. You glance toward the fire. A pot hangs above it. The smell of the evening meal fills the room. Tonight, there is no great feast. The food is simple, warm, filling, enough. That word returns again. Enough. Enough food for tonight. Enough wood for the fire. Enough hay for the animals. Enough grain for the coming weeks. The household is always measuring what remains. You eat slowly. The warmth of the food feels different after a day outside. Every mouthful seems more valuable. Someone begins telling a story. You listen. The story may be about an ancestor, a journey, a difficult winter, a strange encounter, a storm at sea. The room becomes quieter as people listen. This is another part of winter life that is easy to overlook. Stories are not simply entertainment. They preserve memory. They teach children who their people are. They explain places. They remember the dead. They carry warnings. They make long evenings shorter. You watch the faces around the fire. The light moves across them as the flames rise and fall. Outside, the snow reflects the moonlight. The household is together. For a while, the cold seems far away. Then the wind touches the walls. Everyone hears it. The story continues. The farmhouse creaks softly. You look toward the doorway. The storm has passed, but winter remains. It will remain for many more nights. That thought does not feel frightening in this moment. The fire is burning. The animals are sheltered. The food stores are dry. The roof has survived the storm. Tomorrow will bring more work, but tomorrow is not here yet. Tonight there is only the fire. You move closer to the hearth. The warmth reaches your face. Someone adds another piece of wood. The flames rise. For a few moments, nobody speaks. The only sounds are the fire, the wind, and the quiet movement of people settling into the evening. This is the rhythm of a winter night. Slow, repetitive, familiar, and perhaps that familiarity is what makes it comforting. You know where the tools are. You know where the animals are. You know how much food remains. You know that morning will come. The darkness cannot last forever. Outside, the fields are buried beneath snow, but beneath that snow is the land you will work again. The seeds waiting in storage, the the fences you repaired, the animals sleeping in their shelter. The farm is resting, but it is not finished. Neither are you. Eventually, the evening meal ends. The bowls are cleared. The fire is adjusted. A final piece of wood is added. People begin preparing their sleeping places. The farmhouse becomes quieter again. You remove your outer clothing and place it where it can remain dry. The wool blanket waits beside you. You settle down near the warmth. The cold still exists beyond the walls. You can hear the wind, but inside the fire continues to glow. Your body is tired. Your mind is quiet. You think about the day, the animals, the fields, the fence, the tools, the food, the storm. Every part of the farm has demanded attention, and tomorrow it will do so again. But for now you have done enough. Tomorrow is always present in small preparations. The household does not simply fall asleep and forget about tomorrow. Before sleep, someone makes sure the fire is safe and capable of being revived after the night has passed. Even here, there is a small responsibility. Its coals will need to survive until morning. Its warmth keeps the worst of the cold away. Its light gives the room shape. Everyone depends upon it. Now it feels almost like another member of the household. Earlier, it was simply a source of heat. You notice how the fire has changed since sunset. You close your eyes. The fire crackles softly. The farmhouse breathes around you. And as the long Viking winter night settles over the farm, you drift towards sleep, knowing that another morning will eventually arrive. Morning arrives quietly. You wake before anyone calls your name. For a few seconds, you do not remember the storm. Then you hear the wind. Not the violent sound from last night, only a softer movement against the roof. You open your eyes. The fire has become a bed of red coals. The farmhouse is still dark. Around you, people remain beneath their blankets. You sit up slowly. The cold reaches your shoulders immediately. You pull your wool clothing closer and move toward the hearth. The storm has changed the air inside the house. It feels colder than yesterday. Perhaps the door was opened too often. Perhaps some snow has entered through the roof. Perhaps the fire simply needs attention. You kneel beside the coals. A few pieces of dry wood are added. You breathe gently. The embers glow. Then a small flame appears. The farmhouse begins to wake again. This is how winter mornings work. The day does not begin because a clock tells you to rise. It begins because something needs to be done. Today, there is more work than usual. The storm has left its mark. You step toward the doorway. When you open it, cold air rushes inside. The farm has disappeared beneath fresh snow. The fence is almost completely covered. The path to the animal shelter is barely visible. You pull your cloak around yourself and step outside. The snow reaches higher than yesterday. Each step sinks into it. Walking is slow, but the animals cannot wait. You follow the faintest line toward the shelter. The wind has piled snow against one side of the building. You clear the doorway with your boots first. Then you use a wooden shovel. The snow is heavy. You lift it and throw it aside. Again. The work warms your body despite the cold. Eventually, the entrance is clear. You open the door. The animals are there. They are restless but safe. You check them one by one. The cattle have survived the night. The sheep are crowded together. The goats are moving restlessly near the back wall. You feel a quiet relief. A storm can damage more than buildings. It can kill animals. And every animal lost is a loss of food, labor, wool, milk, or future offspring. You check the roof next. Snow has collected heavily along one side. You cannot leave it there. Too much weight can damage the structure. You climb carefully and begin pushing the snow away. The work is dangerous. The roof is slippery. The air is bitter. But the snow must come down. You clear one section, then another. Below you, someone clears the fallen snow from the yard. The farm is slowly becoming visible again. A fence post has broken. You notice it after climbing down. The storm has snapped the timber near the ground. You carry a replacement post from the woodpile. The ground is frozen. Digging is difficult. You strike the earth with a tool. Once, twice, again. The sound travels across the quiet morning. Eventually, the hole becomes deep enough. You place the new post into it. The fence will stand again. The repair feels strangely satisfying. Yesterday, the farm was prepared for the storm. Today, you are repairing what the storm changed. This is the rhythm of life on a farm. Prepare, endure, repair, continue. You walk farther along the boundary. Several smaller branches have fallen from nearby trees. One has landed across the path. You drag it aside. Another has broken part of the fence. You make another note. There is too much work to finish immediately, so you prioritize. The animals first, the buildings next, then the fences, then everything else. Knowing what must be done first is another form of survival. You return to the farmhouse briefly. Inside, breakfast is being prepared. The fire is brighter now. Someone has heated water. A bowl of warm food waits near the hearth. You eat quickly. The warmth feels good, but there is no long rest. The storm has created too much work. After breakfast, you return outside. The sky is clearer now. Blue appears between the clouds. The sunlight touches the snow. For the first time, the farm looks almost beautiful. The fences cast long shadows. Smoke rises straight from the farmhouse. The animal shelter stands against the white landscape. You stop for a moment. Yesterday, the storm made the world feel small. Today, the farm seems open again. You can see the fields, the forest, the distant hills, the path leading toward the water. Everything has returned, not exactly as it was, but enough. You understand something now. Winter survival is not about avoiding every problem. Problems will come. Snow will fall. Fences will break. Animals will become sick. Roofs will need repair. Food stores will become smaller. The important thing is what happens afterward. You wake, you look, you repair, you continue. The work may never feel finished, but unfinished does not mean unsuccessful. A farm that survives another storm has succeeded. You stand beside the repaired fence and look across the snow-covered fields. The sun is climbing higher. The day is cold. Your hands are tired. But the animals are safe. The roof is holding. The fire is burning. The household has food. For now, everything important remains. You turn toward the farmhouse. Behind you, your footprints cross the fresh snow. Ahead, smoke rises into the clear morning sky. The storm is over. Winter is not, and there will be more mornings like this. More snow, more cold, more work. But now you know the rhythm. You have learned how a Viking farmer meets the winter. Not by defeating it, by waking up each morning and carrying on. You return to the farmhouse and notice several garments spread near the hearth. They are being inspected. A cloak has a damaged edge. A wool tunic has begun to thin near the shoulder. One pair of leg coverings has a tear that needs attention. You sit beside the hearth and watch the repairs begin. The first thing you notice is the wool. It is rougher than modern fabric, but thick and useful. Wool has an important advantage in a cold climate. Even when it becomes damp, it can still provide warmth. You pick up the damaged cloak. The fabric has been worn by years of use. The shoulder is especially thin. Every time the wearer carried wood, lifted a bucket, or worked with animals, the cloth moved against the body. Eventually, the fibers weakened. Now the garment needs another repair. A needle is brought closer to the fire. The thread is prepared. The work begins. Small stitches pass through the damaged area. Slowly, the weak section becomes stronger. The repair is not invisible. It does not need to be. You begin to understand how valuable a good garment can be. A farmer spends hours outside. There is no heated vehicle waiting nearby. There is no waterproof jacket hidden in a chest. When you leave the farmhouse, your clothing has to do the work of protecting your body. A wet cloak can become heavy. A torn sleeve can expose skin to wind. Wet footwear can make a long journey miserable. Cold is not simply uncomfortable. It can make ordinary tasks harder. So clothing becomes part of preparation. Before going outside, you check your layers. Before winter begins, you repair them. Before a storm, you make sure they are dry. The same principle applies to footwear. You look toward a pair of worn shoes near the wall. The leather has hardened. One side is beginning to separate. Someone applies a small amount of grease to the material. The leather becomes darker, softer, more flexible. It is another small act of maintenance. Without it, the shoe may fail when it is needed most. You think about how often your feet have carried you across the farm, to the fields, to the water, to the animal shelter, to the woodpile. Every journey depends upon them. A broken shoe could turn a simple task into a painful one. So even footwear becomes part of the farm's survival system. You look around the room. Several people are working on different things. One person repairs clothing. Another works with leather. Someone else is twisting wool. The farmhouse has become a quiet workshop. The storm has passed, the animals are safe, the immediate danger is gone. You take the repaired cloak and examine the stitching. It feels stronger. You hold it near the fire for a moment, allowing the fabric to dry completely. Then you fold it carefully. It will be needed again soon. Outside, the snow is bright beneath the sun. You know you will have to go back outside before the day ends. There is wood to carry, animals to check, fences to inspect, perhaps more snow to clear. The repaired clothing will make those tasks easier. This is why winter preparation begins before winter arrives. By the time the first serious storm comes, it is too late to discover that your cloak is falling apart. Too late to realize that your shoes leak. Too late to notice that your gloves are missing. A prepared household notices these problems early. That does not make winter easy. It simply makes winter more manageable. You watch the wool being spun. The movement is steady. The fibers are pulled and twisted into a stronger thread. It is slow work, but there is something calming about it. The same rhythm repeats. Pull, twist, release. Again, again. Sheep had to be raised. The wool had to be collected. It had to be cleaned, then prepared, then spun, then woven or knitted into something useful. A single garment can contain many hours of labor. That changes the way you think about clothing. A cloak is not just a cloak. It is an animal, a season of work, many careful hands, and countless small decisions. You look down at your own clothing. The fabric is worn, the edges are not perfect, but it has protected you through another cold morning. That is enough. The afternoon light begins to fade. The household slowly gathers the tools used for sewing and repair. The cloak is folded. The leather is put away. The wool is covered. The fire is fed again. Another day of winter is moving toward evening. The household prepares for the cold in small ways, long before the cold becomes dangerous. That is why ordinary maintenance can become a form of protection. It is much harder to fix when snow is blowing across an open field and your hands are numb. A loose seam is easy to fix beside a warm hearth. A small repair made today can prevent a much larger problem during the next storm. You also understand why clothing must be cared for throughout the season. You stand near the doorway and prepare to step outside once more. Before you leave, you pull the repaired cloak around your shoulders. The wool settles against your body. The cold air waits beyond the door. You open it. The wind touches your face. But this time, you are better protected. You step into the snow. The farm stretches ahead. The animals are waiting. The fields remain frozen. The forest is silent. Winter has not become kinder. You have simply become better prepared to live inside it. And perhaps that is the quiet lesson of the Viking farmer's winter. Survival does not always come from strength. Sometimes it comes from a repaired cloak, a dry pair of shoes, a warm fire, and the patience to prepare before the cold arrives. By late afternoon, the light has already begun to fade. The sun hangs low above the winter landscape, casting long shadows across the snow. You look toward the woodpile. It is smaller than it was yesterday, and smaller than it was a week ago. This is one of the things you notice more clearly as winter continues. The pile of firewood is a measure of time. Every log burned tonight is one less log available tomorrow. You pull your cloak tighter and walk toward the forest edge. There is still enough light to work, but not much. The household needs more wood before darkness becomes complete. You take an axe from the farmhouse. The handle is familiar beneath your hand. You test the iron edge. It is sharp enough. Then you begin walking. The path beyond the farm has been used for years. Even beneath snow, you can recognize parts of it. A bend around an old tree, a shallow rise in the ground, a fallen branch beside the trail. Winter makes everything look unfamiliar, but memory helps. You reach the trees. The forest is quiet. Snow covers the ground between the trunks. There is little movement. You begin looking for suitable wood. Not every tree should be cut. Some are too large. Some are too young. Some may be useful for other purposes. The farmer learns to choose carefully. Dead branches can provide fuel. Fallen trees can be broken into smaller pieces. Wood that has dried properly burns better than wood that is still wet. This matters during winter. Damp wood produces smoke and burns poorly. Dry wood catches more easily and provides better heat. You find a fallen branch beneath the snow. You pull it free. It is dry, useful. You carry it toward the cutting area. Then you find another. The work begins. You place the branch against a stump. The axe rises, falls. The sound travels through the forest. Again and again. Wood breaks. The pieces fall into the snow. You gather them. Your hands are becoming cold. Your shoulders begin to ache. But the work has its own rhythm. Lift, strike, split, gather, repeat. There is something strangely peaceful about it. The forest remains silent around you. Your breath rises in the cold air. Snow falls lightly from the branches whenever the wind moves through them. You stop for a moment. The axe rests against the stump. You look back toward the farm. From here, the buildings are barely visible. A thin column of smoke rises above the trees. That smoke means warmth. It means the household is waiting. It means the fire is still alive. You return to the work. More wood is needed. A farmer cannot simply gather enough for one evening. The supply must last. You think about the coldest nights. The nights when the wind presses against the farmhouse walls. The nights when people sleep close to the hearth. The nights when animals need extra warmth. Those are the nights when firewood matters most. It is thicker than the branches you have collected. You examine it carefully. The wood is dry enough. You begin cutting. The axe bites into the timber. Each strike takes effort. The work is slower now. Eventually, a section breaks free. You cut it into smaller pieces. The pile grows, not quickly, but steadily. That is enough. When you have gathered what you can carry, you tie several pieces together with rope. The bundle is heavy. You lift it onto your shoulder. For a moment, you stand still. Then you begin walking home. The journey back feels longer. The weight pulls against your body. Snow makes every step harder. Your boots sink slightly. The bundle shifts. You adjust it. Keep walking. The farmhouse grows larger between the trees. The smoke is clearer now. You can see the animal shelter. You can see the fence. You can see the doorway. You finally reach the yard. Someone comes to help unload the wood. The bundle drops beside the woodpile. You breathe deeply. Your shoulders ache. But the pile is larger now. That matters. The logs will be split further and stacked beneath shelter. They must remain dry. A farmer does not simply collect wood. The wood must be stored correctly. Snow and rain can ruin badly protected fuel. So the pile is arranged carefully. Larger pieces are placed beneath. Smaller pieces are stacked above. Air must be able to move through the pile. The goal is to keep the wood dry while allowing it to continue drying. You step back. The pile looks more secure. Tonight's fire will have enough fuel. Perhaps tomorrow's will too. But the work will continue. Winter does not stop asking for wood. Every cold evening takes another piece from the pile. That is why gathering firewood is one of the great seasonal tasks. It is not exciting. It does not create stories about heroes. But without it, the farmhouse becomes colder. Food becomes harder to prepare. Clothing becomes harder to dry. People become more vulnerable. Fire is part of survival, and fire begins with wood. That is why every trip matters. You know that the wood gathered today will disappear slowly, almost invisibly, as the winter nights continue. You enter the farmhouse again. Warmth reaches your face. Someone is preparing the evening meal. The hearth is glowing. You look back once toward the woodpile. The day's work is visible there. A simple stack of timber. Nothing impressive, yet those logs may mean warmth through another night. You sit beside the fire. Your hands slowly begin to warm. The cold has not disappeared. Winter has not changed, but the household is prepared for tonight. And sometimes on a Viking farm, that is the most important achievement of the day. Night has settled over the farm again. The last light has disappeared from the fields, and the farmhouse is warm around the hearth. But before the household can truly rest, there is one more responsibility: the animals. You step outside with a small wooden lantern. Its light reaches only a short distance. Beyond it, the farm is almost completely dark. The snow reflects what little light there is, making the yard appear pale and endless. You walk toward the animal shelter. During the day, checking the animals is routine. At night, it feels different. The cold is sharper. The wind is quieter now, but the darkness makes every sound seem closer. You open the shelter door. Warm air rises around you. The animals shift in the straw. You enter slowly. The cattle are standing close together. The sheep are gathered in a tighter group. The goats move slightly when they hear you. You listen before doing anything else. No unusual sounds, no frightened animals, no signs of trouble. You begin your final inspection. This is another habit built from repetition. Morning, afternoon, evening, the animals are checked again and again. A farmer learns that small problems are easier to solve before they become serious. You look at the cattle. One animal is lying down. That is normal. Another raises its head when you approach. You place your hand against its neck. It feels warm. You move on. The shelter is holding. The roof survived the storm. The repaired wall is blocking the wind. The bedding remains mostly dry. You add another layer of straw where the ground looks damp. The animals settle again. You step outside. For a moment, you simply stand beneath the night sky. The clouds have cleared. Stars are visible above the farm. The cold is intense. You pull your cloak closer. In a modern home, darkness often means the end of the day. Here, darkness changes the kind of work that can be done. The fields disappear. The forest becomes dangerous. Travel becomes difficult. But the farm does not stop. Animals still need attention. The fire still needs fuel. The household still needs protection. Winter nights make these responsibilities more obvious. You walk around the outside of the shelter. The fence is covered with snow. You inspect the gate. It is secure. You press against it. It holds. Good. You continue along the wall. There is no gap, no loose board, no place where wind can enter easily. You look toward the roof. Snow rests heavily along one side. For now, it is safe. If more snow arrives, it may need clearing again. You remember the morning after the last storm. The work had been exhausting, but the roof had survived. That was enough. You return toward the farmhouse. Halfway across the yard, you hear a sound. You stop. Something moves near the edge of the fence. For a moment, you cannot see it. Then the shape becomes clear. A small animal has approached the farm. Perhaps it is looking for food. You wait. It disappears into the darkness. You continue walking. Life does not stop simply because the sun has gone down. The forest remains active. Animals move through it. Birds settle into branches. The wind shifts snow across the ground. The farm exists inside that larger world. The fences separate the household from it, but never completely. You reach the farmhouse door. Before entering, you look back once. The animal shelter is a dark shape beneath the stars. Smoke rises from the roof. A faint glow appears through the doorway. Someone inside is waiting beside the hearth. You enter. Warmth surrounds you again. The contrast is immediate. Your face is cold. Your hands are cold, but the room is comfortable. The wind disappears. Inside, the household is preparing for sleep. The fire has been reduced slightly. There is no reason to burn more wood than necessary. Someone checks the remaining fuel. Another person looks toward the food stores. The evening routine continues. You sit near the hearth. For a moment, you think about the animals outside. They are not simply property. They are part of the household's future. A healthy cow means milk. Healthy sheep mean wool. Healthy goats provide food. A horse can carry loads. Every animal that survives winter increases the household's chances when spring arrives. That is why the final check matters. It is not just habit. It is investment. Care given tonight may become food, clothing, labor, or wealth months later. You look toward the doorway. Beyond it, the farm is silent again. The cold is still there. The snow is still deep. Winter is still winter. But the animals are sheltered. The gate is secure. The walls are holding. The fire is burning. The household can sleep. For a little while, the winter can remain beyond the walls. Inside, the farmhouse holds its warmth. Outside, the stars remain bright above the frozen fields. Nothing more is required from you tonight. The food is protected. The fire is alive. The gate is closed. The animals have been checked. There is something comforting about knowing that every small responsibility has been completed. You pause beside the hearth and listen to the quiet house. You lean closer to the hearth. The day's exhaustion finally begins to catch up with you. Your shoulders relax, your hands warm. The room becomes quieter. Outside, the cattle shift once in the straw. The sound is faint, almost reassuring. You close your eyes for a moment. Tomorrow morning, you will open the door again. You will check the fire, carry water, feed the animals, inspect the farm, work the fields when the season allows. The same cycle will begin again. But tonight, everything important is safe. And for a Viking farmer facing the long northern winter, safety is never something to take for granted. It is something you build, check, repair, and protect every single day. Morning returns to the farm, and with it comes another quiet responsibility. The household must check its stores. Winter has been eating into them for weeks now. Grain, dried meat, fish, milk products, hay, firewood. Every supply has been reduced a little since the beginning of the cold season. You walk toward the storage building with a wooden bowl in your hand. The door opens with a low creak. Inside, the air is cooler than in the farmhouse. That is useful. Food lasts longer when it is protected from heat, moisture, and animals. You look along the shelves and containers. Nothing appears immediately wrong. But you know that careful storage is not enough. Everything must be checked. A grain container is opened first. You inspect the surface. It looks dry. You move your hand through the grain. There are no obvious signs of dampness. Good. You measure out what will be needed for the day's meals. The amount seems small, but you know how quickly small amounts become large over weeks. A handful today, another tomorrow, then another. By spring, the difference can be enormous. You close the container. Next comes the preserved food. A piece of dried meat is examined. It has been protected from moisture. The surface looks firm. You turn it over carefully. The same care is given to the fish. Nothing is eaten simply because it is there. Food must be judged. Is it still good? Has moisture entered? Has anything damaged it? Could it safely be used? The answers matter. A household living through winter cannot afford to ignore spoiled food. You move deeper into the storage space. Bundles hang from the beams. Some contain herbs. Others hold dried food. A few objects have been set aside for later use. The room feels like a collection of decisions made months ago. Someone decided what to save. Someone decided what to eat first. Someone decided what needed to remain untouched. Someone decided what would become seed for the next season. Winter is therefore not only about surviving the cold, it is about managing time. The farmer is constantly deciding when something should be used. Too early, and supplies may run out. Too late, and food may spoil. Too much today can mean too little tomorrow. You understand why the household counts its stores so carefully. There is no certainty about when winter will end. Some years may bring an early thaw. Others may remain cold much longer. The weather can change everything. You step outside and look toward the fields. They are still covered in snow. There is no sign that planting can begin yet, so the stores remain essential. You return inside. Near the back wall, you find the seed grain. It is stored separately. You do not touch it. This grain has another purpose. It belongs to spring. That makes it especially valuable. You think about what it would mean to eat it during a difficult week, but the consequences would last much longer. Without seed, there could be no new crop. Without a new crop, the next winter would become even more dangerous. So the seed remains protected. This is one of the quietest forms of discipline on the farm. You must sometimes protect tomorrow from today's hunger. The same principle applies to the hay. You walk toward the animal stores. The pile is smaller now. The animals have eaten through much of it. You calculate how much remains. Enough for now, but not enough to waste. You think about the coming weeks. If the snow stays deep, the animals will continue depending entirely on stored feed. If the weather warms early, they may return to pasture sooner. No one knows for certain, so you plan carefully. The farm is always balancing possibilities. Every item has a purpose, and every purpose belongs to a season. Nothing here is accidental. That is why every household member learns to respect what is stored. They are the difference between facing winter with confidence and facing it with fear. But together they represent months of work. They are simply containers, bundles, sacks, and hanging food. The stores do not look impressive. You pause before leaving the storage room and look once more at the shelves. You return to the farmhouse, carrying the day's food. The room is warmer now. Someone is preparing breakfast. You place the grain near the hearth. The work continues. There is something almost comforting about these routines. Every morning, the household checks what remains. Every evening, it measures what was used. The numbers may never be written down, but they exist in memory. A farmer knows when a grain sack feels lighter, knows when the haystack has become smaller, knows when the woodpile needs attention, knows when the preserved food must be used before something fresher. This knowledge is part of surviving winter. You sit near the hearth while the food is prepared. Outside, the cold remains. Inside, the household has another day of supplies. For now, there is enough. But the word has a different meaning now. Enough does not mean abundance. It means enough to continue, enough to reach tomorrow, enough to reach the next week, enough to reach spring. You look toward the storage building through the doorway. The supplies inside are quiet and ordinary, yet they contain the future of the farm. The harvest is still feeding the household. The summer is still protecting the winter. And somewhere inside those containers is the promise that when the snow finally disappears, the farm will begin again. You take your first warm meal of the morning. The work of the day is waiting. But for a moment, you are grateful for something very simple. There is food, there is fire, there are animals, there is seed for spring, and the household has made it through another cold night. By the middle of the day, the farm has settled into its familiar rhythm. The animals have been fed, the fire is burning, the morning work is mostly finished. But there is another part of winter life that does not happen inside your own farmhouse. People need other people. A farm may feel isolated, especially when snow covers the fields and the roads become difficult. But no household survives entirely alone. Today, you are carrying a small bundle toward a neighboring farm. The distance is not great. In summer, the walk would be easy. In winter, every journey takes more thought. You pull your cloak tightly around your shoulders and step onto the path. The snow is hard in some places and soft in others. Your boots leave deep marks where the surface gives way. You keep walking. The neighboring farm is visible beyond a low rise. Smoke rises from its farmhouse. When you arrive, a dog announces your presence before you reach the doorway. A voice calls from inside. You knock. The door opens. Warm air reaches you immediately. The farmhouse smells of smoke and cooked food. You step inside and remove your cloak. Someone takes the bundle you have carried. It contains a small amount of food. Perhaps grain, perhaps dried fish, perhaps something your household has more of than it currently needs. Winter encourages exchange. One farm may have more of one thing. Another may have something different. A neighbor may have a better supply of hay. Someone else may have skilled hands for repairing tools. Another household may have extra wool. People can trade, share, borrow, or simply help one another. You sit near the hearth. The warmth begins to return to your hands. The conversation is ordinary. How deep is the snow? Did the storm damage the roof? Are the animals healthy? How much firewood remains? Has anyone seen signs of wolves nearby? You listen as the neighbor describes the storm. Their fence lost 2 sections. One of the sheep became sick. A tree fell near the animal shelter. They are already repairing what they can. You understand immediately. Your own farm suffered similar problems. Winter creates shared experiences. The cold does not care which farm you belong to. The same wind crosses every field. The same snow covers every path. The same short days limit the amount of work that can be done outside. You are offered a warm drink. You hold the wooden cup between your hands. Someone tells a small joke. Another person laughs. The children move around the room. An older member of the household sits near the fire and listens. When outdoor work becomes limited, there is more time for conversation. News travels through neighbors. Stories travel farther. Information becomes valuable. A traveler may have heard about weather farther north. Someone returning from a market may know which goods have become difficult to obtain. You realize that a farm is connected to a much larger world, even when the surrounding fields look empty. The conversation eventually turns to spring. That happens often. People talk about what they will plant, which animals may be bred, which fences need rebuilding, which tools need replacing. The future is discussed as if it is already waiting beyond the snow. Spring will bring work, more work than winter. The fields will need preparing. Animals will need moving outside. Seeds will need planting. Fences will need checking. You eventually stand to leave. Your cloak is placed back around your shoulders. The bundle you brought is now gone. In return, you are given something small for your household. Neither side keeps a careful score. Today you help them. Another day, they may help you. That understanding is part of living in a community. You step outside. The cold feels sharper after the warmth of the farmhouse. For a moment, you stand beside the doorway. The neighboring farm is quiet behind you. Ahead, your own home waits beyond the snow. Even simple companionship can matter when darkness comes early and the same cold landscape surrounds you day after day. A shortage of food might be eased by someone willing to trade. A sick animal might require knowledge another farmer possesses. A broken tool might stop work for days. As you walk, you think about how easily a difficult winter could become worse without such connections. You begin walking. The path seems easier now, perhaps because the distance feels shorter when you know there are other people nearby. You look across the winter landscape. The farms appear separate. Each has its own animals, fields, fences, and stores. But beneath that separation is a network of relationships. People exchange goods. They share information. They lend tools. They offer help. They visit when someone is sick. They come together when work becomes too large for one household. The winter landscape may look empty. It is not. There are lives scattered across it, each household facing the same season in its own way. You reach the top of the small rise. Your farm appears below. Smoke rises from the roof. The animal shelter stands beside the fence. Someone is working near the woodpile. You stop for a moment. The journey has not been long, but you return with something more valuable than the small exchange you carried. You return knowing that your farm is not alone. Winter can make the world feel very small, but people make it larger again. You walk down toward home. The cold remains. The snow remains. The work remains. But somewhere nearby, another hearth is burning. Another household is preparing its evening meal. And if the winter becomes difficult, there will be someone who understands exactly what you are facing. The days are still cold, but something has begun to change. You notice it first in the light. Morning arrives a little earlier. Evening takes a little longer to settle. The difference is small. Most people might not notice it. But on a Viking farm, the changing length of the day matters. Spring is coming. Not yet. There is still snow across the fields. The ground remains hard. The animals are still depending heavily on stored feed. But the household has begun preparing. You walk outside after breakfast and look toward the fields. The surface is uneven now. Snow has melted in a few places. Dark soil appears beneath it. Water moves slowly through shallow channels. The land is waking. You pick up a wooden tool and walk toward the field boundary. There is work to do before planting. The fields cannot simply be left alone until the first warm day. Winter has changed them. Snow has pushed against fences. Water has collected in low places. Stones have moved toward the surface. Old plant material remains scattered across the ground. All of it will need attention. You begin with the stones. One by one, you pick them up and carry them to the edge. Your hands are cold. The stones are colder, but the work is familiar. You place each one beside the others. The pile grows slowly. These stones may eventually become part of a wall. Perhaps they will be used to strengthen a boundary. Perhaps they will simply remain where they are. Nothing needs to be decided today. The important thing is clearing the field. You continue until your back begins to ache. Then you stop and look across the land. The field already appears slightly different. There is more open earth, more space, more possibility. You think about the seeds stored safely inside the farmhouse. They have been waiting all winter. Soon they will need to be taken out, but not yet. The soil must be ready first. You walk toward the fence. Several posts have been damaged by snow and wind. One is leaning badly. You test it with both hands. It moves. The post needs replacing. You bring another piece of timber. The ground is still partly frozen, making the work difficult. You strike the soil repeatedly. Slowly, the opening becomes deep enough. The new post is lowered into place. You pack the earth around it. Then you test it. It holds. Another small repair. Another piece of preparation. You continue along the fence. The farm is beginning to look less like a winter shelter and more like a working landscape again. Animals will soon spend more time outside. That means gates must be secure, fields must be protected, water sources must be accessible. The household cannot wait until the animals are already wandering before repairing the fences. Preparation comes first. You walk toward the animal shelter. The cattle are restless. They have begun responding to the changing light. Soon, they will be able to spend longer periods outside, but the grass is not ready yet. So the stored hay continues to disappear. You look at the remaining pile. There is less than before, yet the household is getting closer to the time when the animals can feed themselves again. That thought brings relief. Winter stores are never simply food. They are a bridge. They carry the farm from one season into another. You return to the farmhouse. Inside, the seed grain has been brought closer to the working area. Someone is checking it carefully. The containers are opened. The grain is inspected. It must be dry, healthy, ready. You watch the process. There is something almost ceremonial about it. After months of darkness and cold, the seeds are finally being prepared to return to the earth. You take a handful. The grains are small, hard, ordinary. Yet inside each one is the possibility of another crop, another harvest, another winter. The cycle begins again. You place the grain back into its container. There is still time before planting, but the farm is already changing. Tools are checked. Fences are repaired. Fields are cleared. Animals are watched. Seeds are prepared. Every task points toward the same future, spring. You step outside again. The air remains cold enough to sting your face, but the sunlight feels different. It rests on the snow for longer. A small patch of grass has appeared beside the farmhouse. You stop and look at it. Green, tiny, almost hidden, but alive. You smile. Soon the animals will find grass again. Soon the fields will become busy. Soon the long winter will become another memory. But you also know that spring will not bring rest. It will bring work. Perhaps more work than winter. The fields will need turning. Seeds will need planting. Animals will need moving. Fences will need constant attention. The growing season will be short, and every good day will matter. You look back toward the farmhouse. The winter woodpile is smaller. The food stores are lower. The fields are beginning to emerge. The farm has reached the turning point. Winter has taken what it needed. Now spring is preparing to take its place. You stand quietly for another moment. The wind moves across the field. It is still cold, but it no longer feels endless. The cold may still surround the farm, but the season ahead has already entered everyone's thoughts. You turn toward the farmhouse and begin walking. Behind you, the frozen land waits. Ahead, the household is preparing for another season. And for the Viking farmer, spring does not begin when the snow disappears. It begins when you start preparing for the work that will come after it. The morning arrives quietly. You open your eyes, and for a moment you hear nothing except the soft movement of the farmhouse around you. The fire has burned low. A few red coals remain beneath the ash. Outside, winter is still present, but something has changed. The darkness does not seem quite as deep as it did weeks ago. The morning light arrives earlier. The air is still cold, yet the cold no longer feels endless. You sit up and pull your wool clothing around your shoulders. Another day begins. You walk toward the hearth and carefully bring the fire back to life. A small flame appears, then another. Soon, the familiar warmth begins to spread through the room. You think about the months behind you, the frozen fields, the long nights, the storms, the snow, the animals crowded into their shelter, the woodpile shrinking beside the farmhouse, the grain being measured carefully, the repairs, the endless small tasks. At the beginning of winter, each one seemed like another burden. Now they feel like pieces of the same story. Winter asked for preparation. You prepared. It asked for patience. You waited. It asked for work. You worked. And slowly, Almost without noticing, you reach the other side. Snow still covers parts of the ground, but patches of dark earth have begun appearing near the farmhouse. Water moves quietly along the edge of the field. The fences stand where you repaired them. The animal shelter remains strong. Smoke rises behind you. You walk toward the fields. Your boots press into the damp snow. Soon, the snow will disappear. Soon, the soil will soften. Soon, the tools you used during winter will be replaced by different tools. The fields will become busy again. You stop at the edge of the land. For months, the fields have looked empty. Now you can imagine them filled with life. Green shoots, crops, people working, animals grazing, summer sunlight. But you know better than to think spring means the work is finished. Spring will bring its own demands. Summer will bring long days. Autumn will bring the harvest. And eventually, another winter will return. That is the great rhythm of the farm. Nothing truly ends. The seasons turn. The work changes. The same land asks different things from you at different times. You think about the harvest that made this winter possible. The grain that became bread. The hay that kept the animals alive. The wool that became clothing. The wood that became fire. The food that remained stored through the coldest weeks. None of it happened by accident. Every winter comfort began months earlier. That may be the most important lesson the farm has taught you. Survival is built long before survival is necessary. You look toward the farmhouse. Someone has opened the door. Warm air escapes into the morning. A voice calls for you. Breakfast is ready. The walk feels familiar now. You pass the fence. You pass the animal shelter. You enter the farmhouse. The fire is brighter. Food is waiting. You sit near the hearth and take a warm piece of bread. For a moment, you do nothing. You simply hold it. The warmth reaches your fingers. Outside, the fields remain cold, but you know that the cold will not last forever. You take a bite. The bread tastes simple. It tastes like grain. It tastes like work. It tastes like summer stored inside winter. You look around the farmhouse. Nothing here is luxurious. The walls are plain. The tools are worn. The clothing has been repaired many times. Enough. Enough to survive. Enough to continue. Enough to begin again. You think about the first morning of winter. How cold the air felt. How dark the season seemed. How uncertain the months ahead appeared. Now the same farmhouse feels different. Not because winter has become easier, but because you have learned its rhythm. You learned when to gather wood, when to check the animals, when to repair the fences, when to protect the food stores, when to stay inside, when to go outside, when to wait, and when to work. That knowledge is not written in a book. It lives in habits, in memory, in hands that have done the same tasks for years. You stand. The season is changing. The fields are waking. And somewhere inside the farmhouse, seeds are waiting to return to the earth. You step outside one final time. The morning sun touches the snow. The light is soft. The wind is cold. But the horizon is brighter. You stand there quietly. You think about what it meant to be a Viking farmer. It was not the life of a warrior standing beneath a banner. It was not a life of constant adventure. For most days, it was something quieter. It was waking before the work was finished, feeding animals, repairing tools, carrying water, cutting wood, protecting food, watching the sky, waiting for the right season, and doing it all again tomorrow. There was hardship, there was cold, there was uncertainty, but there was also warmth. Bread, firelight, family, neighbors, animals, fields, and the deep satisfaction of knowing that your own hands helped keep the household alive. You look across the farm one last time. The snow will melt, the fields will green, the seeds will be planted, the harvest will come, and one day, another winter will arrive. When it does, the farmer will prepare again. Wood will be gathered, food will be stored, clothing will be repaired, animals will be sheltered, the fire will be kept alive, and the cycle will begin again. You turn toward the farmhouse. The door is open. Warmth waits inside. You walk home slowly. Behind you, the winter fields remain quiet. Ahead, another season is beginning. And for now, that is enough. The farm has survived the cold. The morning has arrived. and the Viking farmer is ready to begin again.